Blog Talk Radio.
Yo, what's up, world? It's badass thuggin' like I usually do, and you better turn it up, bust some speakers out, cause we off the motherfucking cuff. You dig how we do it? Dog Pound Gangsters 2000 and beyond. Black.
Yo, check this out. This is your girl, Cola Vogue, and I'm chilling with my boys right here on Off the Cuff Radio. Cause we off the cuff right now. You dig?
Bet. What's up? It's your boy Lil Yap from UNLV, bragging up from the river, cooling with my homies and my family at Off the Cuff Radio. Y'all be sure to tune in on Fridays and get the latest scoop and find out what's happening. You heard me?
Tiffany Lavon.
And it's Queen Crazy, your girl's favorite bartender.
And we're from
Sex on the Rocks podcast.
Alright, you're now tuning in to Off the Cuff Radio.
Yeah, because they keep representing that real hip hop. Well, much love.
Alright.
Y'all, this is Miss Irresistible giving a shout out to the livest show on Friday nights Off the Cuff Radio. And I'm live from the 704. Make sure y'all tune in for the blazing hot music.
Hey y'all, this is Stacey Lachey giving a shout out to King Eric and Off the Cuff Radio.
What's shaking, y'all? This is the Grand, one half of Lost Cause and 1/3 of that Drive Time thing. Sending my love to the homies over at Off the Cuff Radio. Tune in every Friday night for some real deal hip-hop conversation. These dudes are the connoisseurs of this thing. You already know what it is. BX Stand Up, HUD City, we're shaking. Peace.
Yo, this is Dope Fresh to Dine, and y'all tuned in to the most raw, uncut show on radio, the Guillotine Team, Off the Cuff. And yo, Eric, Sandman, off of these clowns' heads.
Living in a world full of sin. Took so many losses, only right that I win. I seen real turning to fake. Money came around, love turning to hate. Living in a world full of sin. Took so many losses, only right that I win. I seen real turning to fake. Money came around, love turning to hate. With this pen, I'll be writing my life. I gotta thank the Lord for a voice in the mic. Had hard times, now we live in the height. I came from the dark, now I'm up in the light. Old friends wanna catch me on sight, them niggas changed. Riding by my dolly, my nigga, it ain't the same. Still trying to put the city on the map. Took trips OT, I put the city on the back. Where the love at? Tell me where the love at. I ain't getting no love back. Friends had to dub that. Took the fast lane. Niggas ain't ride with me. When my big brother passed, niggas ain't cry for me. Put my own bread up. Niggas ain't grind with me. Now I got things litty. Niggas want shine with me. Bitches got time for me. Kids wanna idol me. Came in this world on my own. Give me privacy. Living in a world full of sin. Took so many losses, only right that I win. I seen real turning to fake. Money came around, love turning to hate. Living in a world full of sin. Took so many losses, only right that I win. I seen real turning to fake.
Let's go.
Money came around, love turning to hate.
Yeah. This might be the end of a great career. No heartfelt goodbyes if you thought I would take it there. Too much at stake to risk for this soldier to play the rear. That's food for thought to all, and I gave you a plate to share.
Can't believe that I made it here. Take a ride on this train of thought if you're able to pay the fare. Yeah, the Coliseum is packed and I saved the chair for them niggas who's hating there. We forgive them. Let's say a prayer, save the tears and whatever emotions that may appear. Just lay it there. Should never come with the baggage you ain't repair. Let's make it clear. These careless niggas can't wait to care. Answer the bell like Le'Veon. I ain't willing to play this year. I refuse to. A world full of sin, but I gotta get it. Stop the credits. We ain't ending this movie apologetic. Nah. A world full of sin, but I gotta get it. Stop the credits. We ain't ending this movie apologetic. Never. Living in a world full of sin. Took so many losses, only right that I win. I seen real turning to fake. Money came around, love turning to hate. Living in a world full of sin. Took so many losses, only right that I win. I seen real turning to fake. Money came around, love turning to hate. God damn, that's you.
Yeah. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What it do, y'all? This your boy King Eric the Great. You're now tuning in to episode 324 of Off the Cuff Radio, the livest direct hip hop show on the weekends. Sponsored by Cocaine's Buddy Boy Entertainment, Dirty Basement, Core Financial, Jesse's Boutiques, and soon to be Screwball Radio. I got my host T Max with the facts in the building.
What it do? It's OTC on a Sunday. Set it all for the week, doing, you know what I'm saying, doing it right, So we never stop, man, on all days that end with Y. That's our schedule for the fly, man.
Can't stop, won't stop, will never stop. And we had to pick this Sunday for a reason. First of all, I want to give a big shout out to my personal assistant, April Holmes, for helping me discover this guy right here, our guest of the evening. This man here is ferocious with the bars, as you can tell by the track that we played featuring Ransom, holding down the East Coast for Dolo. And from what I heard with some of the songs that he's been putting out, this man is a straight-up assassin on the mic. So it's only right for Off the Cuff Radio to give this guy his proper due, his proper respect, is not only an up-and-coming artist, but a future legend in the progress. Holding down from Rochester, New York City, we got my man YS, a.k.a. Young Sleep, in the building.
Yep.
Well, I lost him for a minute, but he's going to call back. But nevertheless, as soon as we get him on, we're going to get this thing on the road. Call number is 1516-531-9596. We off and running it Off the Cuff Radio.
Yeah, man. So definitely, man. So look, we're just waiting to get it popping and whatnot. And Yo King, I mean, definitely. Yeah, man. So I mean, look, just seems like the East Coast can't lose right now. Of course, especially coming up from, coming up from more.
There he is right here. Top, I think we got him on right here,
okay,
brother.
Yeah. Okay. Hello?
I think, you on, brother?
Wyatt, can you hear us? You on?
Yeah, I think he's trying to call, man. His call keep getting dropped, but we're going to definitely get him on, though, nevertheless. So, yeah, we in the building, man. Sunday night edition of Off the Cuff Radio. Big shout out to Fleetwood and the Cotton Pickers for a banging show that we had Friday night. I'm going to have highlights and the replay of that already up real soon.
Yeah, man. Definitely a lot of dialogue, a lot of insight, a lot of intelligence, a lot of education, man. It was, shared, man, on that. Shout out to one of our
on now. You on, brother?
Yo. Okay. Yo, we can hear you, man. What's going on?
There you go. What's good, brother? Yes, sir.
What's up, man?
What's going on, man? We had to give you the primetime intro before we brought you on.
Oh, man, I heard most of it. My phone been cut in and out. My fault. Definitely appreciate it, man. I definitely heard it.
Definitely, man. Appreciate you coming on, man. Look, you know, like I said, we don't stop all days at NY. We stay fly and fresh, man. So we always got to make room, you know, for somebody to lay the boom in terms of bringing that dopeness onto the mic, man, and get them featured. So we're happy to have you on, man. Once again, thank you for, you know, gracing us with your presence.
Man, thank you for the opportunity.
Definitely, man. So like King said, you've been making some noise.
Also want to send a shout out to April Holmes for making this connection.
Yeah, shout out to April. She definitely reached out. Definitely appreciate her for you know, being interested and getting me on the show.
Word up, man. So I mean, like I said, you know, we're happy to have you on. The floor is yours, man. You representing Rochester, so tell us a little bit about yourself. You know, where you're from, how you got started, you know, and hey, just anything, whatever, man. It's all you. Go ahead.
All right, yeah, my name Young Sleep. Young Sleep Don't Sleep. Rochester, New York, born and raised. You know, I'm from upstate New York, Rochester, Buffalo, Syracuse area. If you ever heard the Griselda boys, you know, they from Buffalo. That's like 40 minutes from me. I actually know them a little bit. I know Benny the Butcher when he, you know, was on his grind and stuff, and you know, that's like a big homie to me. But yeah, Rochester, man, you know, it's a lot of people get it messed up and think, you know, it's like farms and stuff. Like, nah, we pretty much borough in New York or Bronx. That's Rochester pretty much. Like it's real where I'm at. Like I think the population like 300,000, but like if you got beef with somebody, it take like 15 minutes to go see where that man at. So like it's real where I'm at. Like unfortunately, it's a lot of homicides and stuff like that, a lot of drugs and stuff, and like, you know, it's just a raw environment. So obviously, it's a place people want to make out.
Definitely, man. And, you know, of course, you know, shouting out to upstate New York, man. Of course, you got Buffalo, you got Utica, you got Syracuse. You know what I'm saying? Of course, Albany, that's the capital. Yeah, man. And what you were saying about, you know, what you were saying about it out there, you know, like you said, because Buffalo also in that area seems to be one of the areas that kind of has been plagued by a lot of the street stuff. Of course, King, Sandman, Chinchilla, you know, our co-host will tell you I'm a big Griselda stan for real. You know, so proud of what them guys have accomplished. Tell us about, you know, your trajectory in terms of how you got into the game, in terms of who inspired you, and, you know, how you really decided to make this a career for you, to really put out, you know, product and really, you know, get people, you know, to take notice.
Oh, let me get back going. Right back here.
Okay.
There you go.
I've been doing this 18 years, and when I first started rapping, I was just like playing around, doing like kind of like when Will Smith first came on the scene, like clown rap, like just drilling girls and stuff like that. And then actually my brother was killed when I was 15 years old. He was 18, so when he was killed, I was only 15 years old, and that took a lot on me because my brother was my hero. That's the person I looked up to. That's actually where I got my name from. They used to call him Sleep. And dudes around the neighborhood used to call me Young Sleep. I'm like, man, that ain't my name. And then I realized I ain't have a rap name, so I kind of just ran with it. So when he passed, that kind of like made me want to, like, you know what, maybe I could really do this. And, you know, this could be like what I really want to do. And this could, you know, it's a dream for me. I love music. I always love music. Even as like a little boy, I had Tupac CDs for my birthday at 6-7 years old. So like just that motivation to make my brother proud and like turn his name into a brand is like what makes me get that drive for music.
Definitely. And in terms of, you know, of course, Pop being one of your influences, you know, from, you know, having his CDs early, who else was some of your influences as well in terms of who helped you to really mold your style musically and stylistically?
New York, period, man. New York City, but like Jadakiss, that's my favorite. Like Kiss, top 5 Dead or Alive. I really believe that.
Yeah,
like,
man.
Yeah, his lyrical ability, man. Like it's been I think Kiss went on a stretch for like 20 years where I never heard a whack verse ever in my life. Like everything was like at least good, or better. And most of the time, it was, it was like really nice. Like I never, you like name Eminem, Lil Wayne, and Kiss is in a top 5 or top 10. So like him mostly, Jay-Z, Nas, Big, like almost the same people, almost Pun, Styles P, The Lox Period, Beanie Siegel. So I'm really into the lyrical stuff, but I like wave stuff. Like I like Max B, what he brought to the game. I like what other people bring to the game.
God, Harlem.
Yeah, shout out to the Wave God, man. Big Avell come home, I believe, next year. So those are the people that I'm influenced by, and I'm influenced by what's coming up now. Even like upstate, that New York, that '90s still is back right now.
Definitely.
You sense that energy coming back, though, right? You sense that bars are starting to matter more than before?
Absolutely. Because it's a lane for it. Of course, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead, please.
Oh, what I was just going to say, like, of course, mainstream is not really about bars, but in a way it is. Like, if you think about the top lyricists like Drake, J. Cole, Kendrick, they're all lyricists. They just make really good songs and really good music, and they can do that. But even, like, obviously you got the other stuff like Travis Scott, Young Thug, Gucci and stuff like that, which ain't nothing wrong with it. I like all their music too, but obviously that's more mainstream. But now we in the era of it's a lane for everything. So it's a lane to bring that 90s lyrical music back. Where for a good, like in the early 2000s, that kind of died for a long time. But so you see the Buffalo Dudes with Zelda and other people bringing that back. So it's a lane to listen to real hip-hop. People are like, oh, the real hip-hop ain't on the radio. Well, it might not be on the radio, but it might be on internet radio. It might be on satellite radio. It might be on Spotify. You got to find it. You got YouTube. YouTube is the biggest platform, period, right now. You go find that music if you really want it.
And, that's real, man, because I think a lot of people, because obviously, you bring up a lot of great points. Me and King are older, so we grew up in a time, where Source Magazine, and of course Double XL, because Source started in 1988, Double XL was started in 1997, and, of course, during that time we saw the internet, being a cross-section, we saw the advent of social media really becoming prevalent. So we began to see how music was, marketed differently in terms of, and I mean, we got to give Soulja Boy a shout out, when he started using MySpace to really start,
absolutely.
moving it. So what we're seeing, but what we saw, as you said, around the 2000s, while there was a lot of great albums that came out then, a lot of people lament it because they feel like that's where we started seeing the commercialization of hip-hop as we know it today, really kind of take root. And this is not a shot to any of the South, i.e. Gucci, Jeezy, T.I., anybody, Ludacris, because what you saw was the East and West Coast that had dominance for so long, and even Master P later on in the 90s, that it was only right for, other people from Atlanta to really begin to get their, shine on. Of course, Outkast really broke through first for the Atlanta rappers, who really to be taken seriously on that level. But I guess now what we've seen is, as you said, a more commercial slash, I guess, stylistically friendly, what maybe is being promoted right now that's not necessary. Because you said Jadakiss, which we're all Jadakiss fans, and a lot of people will acknowledge his dopeness, but he's not always the first one out their mouths when they talk about some of the greatest legends, which he is. Why do you think the direction of music started changing in terms of what was being marketed and where a lot of dope artists were not getting their proper due going into the the millennium of the 2000s and beyond? Can you hear us, King?
Yeah. Can you repeat the question?
Okay.
The phone cut out.
It's okay. Yeah, I was asking, why do you think it started changing in terms of what was being promoted, where a lot of the really, really dope artists, going into the 2000s and beyond that, were not necessarily getting their proper due for, really getting promoted, but you saw a lot of rappers with lesser skills, getting that shine. Where do you think it changed that?
I just think the timing in music. It was a different time. People wanted something newer, so Early 2000s to me, I think Atlanta, and I would say mainly Atlanta, down south period, but Atlanta, their music changed. Like, people forget, like early 90s, you had Outkast and stuff, you had Goody Mob, but in the early 2000s, you did have a T.I. who was lyrical and Luda, but you think of the other people like Gucci, Jeezy, it's a lot of other people, Rocco and stuff. That music changed. So it was a fresh sound. So I think that new sound changed everything because that's what was selling. And obviously, as a listener, it's going to make you. So if the lyrical is not popular, crazy numbers, switch it up a little bit. They're not going to promote that like that no more. They're going to promote Gucci Mane like he the biggest artist. And at one time, Gucci was the biggest artist. Jeezy was the biggest artist at one point. So I think that's why the lyrical stuff kind of took a little back break in a way.
Definitely.
I think it's also too that when the internet started, technology started really creeping up on the scene because you started having Napster coming out and LimeWire and all those. Downloading. It's like the business had to take a back seat and know how to really reinvent itself.
That's a good point too. That is true. The internet was very, very still new in a way. Obviously, the internet been around a long time, but like really, really been around for music and stuff. Like you said, the early stages is the Napster, BearShare, LimeWire and stuff. Then you got to the MySpace era. MySpace, like you said, Soulja Boy blew up off MySpace. He really changed the game. You can say what you want. If you don't like his music, that's your opinion, but he changed the game. MySpace and YouTube. Even Nicki Minaj. A lot of people don't know. Nicki kind of was discovered off MySpace.
Yeah. And for a lot of people that say Nicki ain't dope, I tell anybody, listen to the Beam Me Up Scotty mixtape.
Yeah, you crazy, man.
Yeah, I mean, Nicki was, and I guess, a lot of times for a lot of artists coming in, because I guess that's where a lot of times a lot of people lament where it goes, because where you start off in the underground, there's pretty much no rules. You're allowed to pretty much express yourself in a capacity that you believe really, really, really is your forte. And once you get on to the majors, then there's become this whole, because once you're dealing with the majors, you're dealing with an element now where it's become corporate, there's more money involved. You're having people involved in your business, outside of yourself and your immediate crew. So sometimes people feel like it gets watered down. From the business perspective of it, do you feel like that end of it where they kind of began to look over the lyrical ability as opposed to what was marketability and opposed to a lot of antics rather than authentic talent?
Yeah, I do. Like I said, I think where they felt like was selling at the time, the era of music changed. Trap music was the big thing. Trap music changed the music industry. So you had trap music, you had your T.I., Jeezy, Gucci Mane, who you could argue whoever you want to say started it. Everybody wanted to be a trapper. You had Jeezy with the shirts, the snowman shirts. Everybody wanted a snowman shirt. So, like you said, as a label, you see that's what's making money out here right now. Nas ain't really doing a lot right now. Jay-Z is Jay-Z. Whenever he wants to come around, then of course Jay-Z's going to pop. But Jay-Z took breaks here and there. He retired at one time. DMX took a break for a minute. 50 Cent had a great run, but then 50 kind of fell back a little bit.
Right. Yeah, man. And it's wild because when you talk about Nas, when you look at the industry, man, of course, I think when we look at where the marketing and everything was really becoming an issue, of course, there was the infamous Untitled album. We're all students of the game, historians, so we know about the whole controversy about when the album was going to be called Nigga. And Columbia got in that heavy, like, no, this is not going to happen. King, was that Columbia Def Jam Nas was signed to at the time he was going to do the Nigger album? I think that was
it was Def Jam.
It was on Def Jam. Matter of fact, yeah, because it was 2008.
Oh, that was Def Jam. So you already left Columbia by then.
Yeah, he'd already left Columbia. I remember that now specifically because Hip Hop Is Dead came out in 2006. So yeah, man. But of course he would drop the nigga mixtape that would still make waves around. But how important is it for being an artist? Because it seems like so many are dying to get on a label, but they really don't understand how much of their artistic integrity they can lose. What do artists need to understand in terms of when they're trying to make that next transition over in terms of trying to build their, profile and their reputation, but not losing their identity in the process?
I think you gotta study the game and be smart. I think obviously everybody's dream is to get signed to a label. I think nowadays a lot of kids are smart where they don't really want to get signed to a label because it don't make sense. Because off the YouTube numbers, Instagram following and stuff, you can make money off of that almost. I know people who do underground music that might got 10,000 followers, which ain't a lot, and get maybe 30,000 views a video, which you could say is a lot or not, and they make $1,000 a show. And they're strictly underground. You probably never hear of me a day in your life unless you really follow that lane. There's a lot of cats from upstate that make money off of music and stuff. So, like I said, I just say being smart. Like A Boogie, I think A Boogie was getting a nice bag just off of what he was doing off of YouTube before he signed the deal. Tekashi 69 before he signed the deal. He was making a lot of money off of music. There's a lot of artists who made a lot of money that didn't have to go to labels because they had a really big following just off social media. So the only thing I feel like that the label could do for you is get you them bigger looks. And a lot of them looks you could get yourself now, like all these commercials and endorsements and stuff like that. So I just say like being smart, like understanding like what's your obligations to this label? What's the percentage they getting? Are they getting a certain percentage of your show money, your feature money, on your albums and stuff like that? Because at the end of the day, you really don't need it. Like me, I came from that era wanting to get signed to Rough Riders and Rockefeller and Def Jam and stuff like that. But nowadays, I look at it like I don't really need a label. Like I'd rather build what I got, and then at one point, make the money that I'm making now, and obviously keep growing and stuff like that. And maybe one day, when I do want a bigger look, we could do a partnership. I think partnership is the better is what artists should be looking for, not just to get signed. Because they got slave deals, 360 deals, where the label getting pretty much a cut of everything, and they probably getting a bigger cut than you. And you don't even realize at the end of the day, you go owe all that money. Yeah, you might get that advance for $1 million, but you're not really touching $1 million. They might give you $100,000, $200,000 advance, and then the rest is spent on your budget for the album. They paying for all your touring and stuff like that, and you might not have no money at the end of the day.
Right. And
not to mention, too, that labels back in the day used to make you look like a star. It made you... they had the ability to groom you up and have you look like you larger than life.
Absolutely. They don't do that no more. A label ain't signing you if you ain't got no buzz. Like you said, back in the day, they had artist development. Now they don't do artist development. They want somebody that already got $100,000 followers on Instagram right now, 500,000 followers. Look at the Bad Baby shorty that had Text Me Outside on Dr. Phil. She went viral. That's why she got her record deal.
And still can't really rap worth a damn either.
Not at all. But she got some writers.
Yeah.
And see, and plus the labels don't have to do the legwork either. They figure, hey, if this person only got 500,000 followers, we ain't got to do much. All we got to do is just sign them.
At all.
Take what we got to take off the top.
Yeah. They already know they're going to make their money back. They ain't investing in nothing. They can't make their money back no more. Why would they take a loss?
And that's wild, man, because what you said earlier about how, it's, a partnership and everything, because I want to ask you a couple questions, but I want to make a couple of these points first as well, because, of course, we got to give a shout-out to the late, great, legendary, Nipsey Hussle, and,
that's why I follow
Nipsey.
That's a big
yeah.
Yep. Going in
yeah, Nipsey. And shout out to Nipsey, in the 60s, man. Shout out to Crenshaw, the whole block. Because what was going on, I remember, me and King remember when Nipsey was on the underground. Matter of fact, he was in, I believe, XXL magazine. Initially, he made his first appearance in 2003 in the Show Improved section. And then, of course, he made the freshman cover in 2009. Yep. So he was already, building that buzz. So, back in 2017, when he signed his deal with Atlantic, there were a lot of people concerned because, Nipsey had already, he released the Bullet Got No Names mixtapes, the Slaughter Boy 1 and 2
Mailbox
albums.
Money.
Yeah, Mailbox Money. I mean, that story itself with the Crenshaw mixtape and the Mailbox Money mixtape for Blood. Yeah, but the Crenshaw was for $100, and Jay-Z bought 100 copies.
Yeah, Jay-Z bought 100. Yup.
And the Mailbox Money was $1,000 for a physical. He was going to send you something personal of his, like some sneakers or a T-shirt or one of his writing notebooks. Even though the album was available for free online for download. So when Nip signed with Atlantic with All Money In, it was basically, obviously I wasn't in the room where they did the negotiations, but like you said, Sleep, it was more of a partnership where, because Nipsey said, it's a deal where it works out for all of us. And of course, we're not even mentioning the Marathon clothing store or whatnot in terms of what he already had enterprise in. Pretty much for you, when you really got going with your movement, because of course upstate, we're just really beginning to know about it now. I mean, especially out in Buffalo with Griselda, because I mean, before then, all Buffalo was known for was the Bills, chicken wings, and Rick James, and now we got those guys. So, what was it like for you starting out in terms of really finding your lane, in terms of really, like getting, really. What was the local scene like for MCs like yourself, really trying to get heard?
It wasn't that great. Like we had our run where we was doing a lot of the underground shows, and like it was cool and it was a good vibe, and pretty much learning from other MCs and seeing like who's the best and stuff like that. But like as far as being taken serious, I wouldn't say it was that great. Like we didn't have a lot of looks out of upstate period, especially from Rochester. We had like a couple dudes that's shining now. They had a few looks, and then sometimes it didn't work, or it's working now. I feel like when the music changed, it hurt us a lot. So like nobody cared about local artists at all. Now now people are starting to care about their local artists again. It was at a point where like nobody wanted to come see local artists. They was going to pay $10 to $20 to see a local artist. They was going to pay $10 for a CD and stuff like that. So that started to die down a lot. And like you said, well, YouTube really taking off, streaming, and Griselda and Westside Gun really building what they built, opened the doors for upstate again a lot more. Because with the music climate, even me being from upstate, 90% of the people from upstate, from Rochester, New York, where I'm from, they rap like Gucci Mane, or they rap like Young Thug, or they rap like A Boogie. So they don't rap like they from where I'm from. They want to go with the sound that they think that's going to pop, because that's the sound that's popping at the moment, not knowing you got to be authentic.
Right.
There's a difference between being it's different authentic and just trying to do it now. It's like if it's their style, that's the way they coming in, then I don't have no problem with it. But when you see a lot of these guys that clearly was inspired by the Spitters, all of a sudden they want to do a 380. Usually they remain stuck in that space.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's crazy, Sleep, because everybody. I think every region has, I believe a style is an extension of a region. New York is not Atlanta. Atlanta's not New York. And in terms of what Atlanta pioneered, of course, T.I., and, in terms of what we know as trap music, me and King have talked about this. We could say really Ghetto Mafia back in 97 were the ones that really kind of, would lay the seeds for what trap music would be. And that's not to discredit what T.I. did, but T.I. really gave it its name, which he's right. Nobody was calling it trap music before he did. Of course, he was, of course, Ghetto Mafia was that first iteration of what you would say was trap, and T.I. really brought it to the forefront. Gucci and Jeezy would come later with it. Luda was from, he was repping Atlanta, albeit born in Chicago. But he had a whole different style that was just a southern lyrical juggernaut that was just unbelievable, and really made his name with that. But, as it caught fire, like you said, everybody was trying to mimic something that was not authentically theirs in terms of their region. And, you know, like King said, a lot of times that can erode your credibility, especially when everybody knows you're not from there. In terms of having that local support, how important is it for your neighborhood to get behind you, and after that, being able to expand outside of your neighborhood?
I think it's very important because I think it starts home. Obviously, with us being from small towns, we do got to travel and make our name other places too. But you got to start at home. You got to build that. You got to build where your roots is and see if your music is really good. Because people think, you know, a couple people from your local town say your music good, then you like, they think they famous or something, they could blow up, but that's not true. You need strangers to tell you that. But if you're not even getting love from home, and people at home not even telling your music good, then that could hurt you as well. Like, if people at home and people around you telling you straight up the music not right, then you know you really got to go back to really build, like, you got to really put that work in and practice on what you're doing. Like I understand, like, the local support is, like I said, is really, really big. It's just good to have because those are the people that's going to buy your stuff originally. Most people that don't know you, unless you're a big star or, like, you know, you just got you got a nice following and stuff, they probably not going to buy your stuff right away. Or, like, your cousin or the neighbor or somebody, they might buy your shirt and stuff like that. So having that local support originally, it's really big. That's what you want. And then obviously you want to accomplish what's moving forward. You want to take over your state, New York tri-state.
Yeah, you know, and that's real because I remember, and King, you know, we always talk about this on the show, always use this as a reference point. Shout out to Arson Entertainment Network when they did the Compton documentary 4 years ago, where they did, really it was about it was an amalgam of the city and then, of course, Kendrick and Game. You know, they just talked about Compton in general. And, you know, the first, I believe it was the second segment, the second part of it. The first part was with Kendrick, and the second part, I believe, was with Game. And they were talking with Game. Well, it could have been the first part. I mean, anyway. But anyway, Game was talking about about how his name was buzzing in the street, you know, with his mixtape. And, you know, how Dre sent somebody specifically to come get Game and, you know, bring him to Dre. And, you know, Game had to sit down with Dre, and Dre was asking him, you know, does your hood fuck with you? And Game was like, yeah, they fucking with me. And Dre was like, good, because if your hood don't fuck with you, the world won't fuck with you. You know, and that's real. You know, I think so many times, when we got artists coming out, they and this is the harsh truth. We talk about this all the time, on the air, off the air. There are certain places where your hood, if you're from East Atlanta, Zone 6, Zone 3, Zone 1, you know, you got a street reputation that can help the music. If you're from L.A., you know, Compton, South Central, you know, Watts, Inglewood, even up to the Bay, you know, shout out, you know, to San Jose, you know, of course, Vallejo, Oakland, Sacramento. That has a street as well as musical pedigree as well, street reputation and musical pedigree that also enhances it. Going down to Houston, you know, shout out to, you know, of course, the Ghetto Boys, Jay Prince, we affectionately and respectfully call the old man, you know, what they've been doing. Of course, Miami, shout out to Luke, Two Live Crew. These areas all have a place where they've been known and they've had their brand established, where it's a little easier regional because there's such a high profile. Yeah, like King said. Go ahead, King.
I was saying it's a little more regional, which was easier at that time to really establish your sound. Right.
And for a lot of artists, you know, for some of them, like you said, it's easier to really, really, really kind of, because you already have that advantage because you're known nationally and internationally. So all your music has to do is be good. There are some places, I won't mention names, where, you know, the music scene is not so big, but you still have artists trying to act like that they're stars. How important is it for an artist to maintain their humility, and still connect with their fans from a level of really trying to gain new fans as opposed to acting like they got 1 million and they don't need any more?
I think it's really important. I think people want somebody that they could like. Obviously, fans and supporters pay their money to go see people that they enjoy. So when they get the chance to do a meet and greet, that could stay with somebody. You know, I've been a person, like I said, who loves music. I've been to a lot of shows. I opened for a lot of big artists. I had great experience with artists, and I had bad experience where they might have lost me as a fan because of the way they interacted with me. Like, they might have brushed me off or didn't really want to take a picture and stuff, and that stuck with me and had me feeling like, you know what, you're not the person I really thought you was. Like, I thought you would be a cooler dude. So I think, like, I think you should always deal with your fans. Like, I'm a person that anybody that told me that they like my music, rather comment on YouTube, Facebook, or it's like any type of message, any type of feedback, I always reply back. I don't think a lot of people do that, you know. And sometimes it could be hard. Rather, you got 60, 70 people hitting you at the same time saying they love something. I'm the type of person that I'm going to want to respond to everything because I want to keep that fan. I want to make sure they listen to the next project that's coming out or the next song that's coming out. Because, like I said, you could lose fans, and that you could always going up, but when you go down, our fans going to stick with you. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. But if you stay real and you, like, was a cool dude, they'll rock with you. They'll rock with you when you in your downtime and you ain't the big star that you once was. Like, you know, like legends, bro. Not like like trying to down them like a Dipset. Like, if you're a real Dipset fan, you still go listen to that, what Jim Jones put out, what Ken Round put out. But some people might only like them when they big stars. They still stars, they legends, but they, you know, obviously their music ain't out to the front no more. But just their personality. Like, you might have met like Jim Jones in person. He was the coolest dude in the world. So you're always going to be a fan of his. So that's, like I said, I think it's very important to build with your fans, supporters. I don't call them fans. I call people supporters.
I like that because fans sometimes have that negative connotation. Yeah, yes, King, you nailed it. Thank you. Yes, but your supporters are people that are going to be that pillar of a stalwart that's always going to have your back through the good times and the bad. So, yeah, man, so tell us about the first time, you know, you really got into the studio in terms of how long did it take you to, like, really, you know, polish your style to where, you know, you were ready to go in the studio and really put it down?
Since I was 12 years old, and I've been going to professional studios since I was like 15. Now, learning the process to record, like the basics, I would say, I think to really find my style and get like my voice, how I wanted to sound and everything, and really understand mixing and mastering and stuff, almost like my early 20s. Like, I always haven't been good at rap, I'm not going to lie, but I always wanted it more than everybody. I would be the kid who would go to the studio on his birthday. I get $100 for my birthday. I'm in the studio the same night. While everybody was going to the clubs, team clubs, I was writing verses and stuff. So I always wanted it more than everybody, at least the people around me.
And so that's real, man. That's real because, you know, this is the one thing. And, man, this is like, I mean, you're dropping some jewels, man. I mean, in terms of it. In terms of just, you know, in terms of, you know, public relations, practice. Because this is something I think a lot of rappers, you know, this is always a common topic on the show we talk about with our guests. We got to lay it out on the table because so many niggas like to say this shit, and everybody say, depending on where they from, man, don't nobody want to see me win, man. Niggas is hating. I'm like, listen, you know, and shout out to Rusty Jackson. We had him on last year because Rusty made one of the most poignant points we've ever heard on the show. Nobody can stop you from doing what you want to do. And I'd add on to that, but you can't stop yourself because there's a difference between people legitimately who are going to try to dismay you from what you're trying to do, which they can't stop because they're not you, and they really have no control over you. But there is a difference if your product really isn't popping in the street. And I think that's the humility. That's the glacier of ice of cold truth that a lot of people really don't want to hear. Like you said, because it's like riding a bike. It's like, working at a new job. We're all going to have our bumps and bruises when we first start. None of us start off on a lyrical level like Raz Cass or Rakim or Cool G Rap, or E40.
Not at all.
Too Short. In terms of how he, just even with Too Short in terms of his rhyme scheme, which is not the most, it's not the most flashy, but it's so pimped out. He found it how to work for him, and Short based his rhymes off of real experience, and he figured out how to make it work. But everybody doesn't always, but everybody thinks that, it's always hate. I'm like, no, the reality is that, you've got to find that lane where people really, really are really getting behind you. And yes, sometimes you do need a bigger market, but it's not always this nefarious, clandestine plot of everybody conspiring to go against you. It's not that. And a lot of artists don't understand that. It takes practice. Like you said, we've heard artists with records that unfortunately, and we all know everybody's got to start somewhere. So we're not, on Power. Shout out to an episode of Power where they were having to sit down in one of the Japanese tongs. So the Yakuza said, it is the effort that counts. So when you really get, hey, I hear the kitty in the background. Hey there.
Oh, that's my son.
Hey, what's up, man? So, but like the Japanese gentleman said, it is the effort that counts. So, everybody's going to have to start from somewhere. But it's, when you're doing your mixtape or your album, it's something that this is a job interview for your public. So, what you said about how you have to learn how to mix and master, how important is that to make sure that all your polishing in terms of your sonics are perfection in terms of it's immaculate.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, how important is it in terms of when you're putting your music out, because when you're starting out, because that's the job interview for your public for them to rock with you. How important is it for new artists to understand all the nuances of mixing, mastering, making sure that they got the right microphones, equipment, and all of that in terms of really, to the best of their ability and their means, making it, just giving something good for people to hear?
Oh, it's very important. I think obviously quality over quantity. That's how I feel with everything. I think you want quality over anything. I think you want to sound your best at everything. You like the beat got to be good. The vocals got to be good. The hook got to be good. Everything got to be good. It got to be just loud enough. Like presentation. If it's the first time somebody hear you, you want to make sure it really stand out. You want to make sure you're giving them your best. You don't want to give them something that just, you record at your man's house and he don't know how to mix, master anything, but you just want to hear yourself. You just wanted something to put out. If you really if it's just for you and your friends, cool. But if you're trying to get fans and gain exposure from this, you want to put out your best product. You don't want to just throw out anything. Right. You got to be confident in what you're putting out.
And how important is it in terms of budgeting? In terms of making sure that you have the money to facilitate, your projects. Me and King, we always talk about this in terms of how a nigga have on like a $500 Gucci belt, $800 jeans, $200 shoes, $1,000 jacket,
with a $50 video.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. How important is it to make sure that your budget? Yeah. How important to make sure your budget is right?
Very important. It's almost more important than the music. Almost. You got a budget very right. Yeah, it's nice to look good and have an image and stuff like that. But like I said, we go back to the quality thing. Like you want to make sure your music video is really good. Yeah, you can have the Gucci outfit on and $3,000 chain, but if you got a video that look like you spent $50 and your words is off from the actual music and stuff, that's horrible. And people want to wear the designer stuff. I'm the type of person where I ain't really into designer like that. Like, I'm a lyricist anyway. That ain't really my image. But, like, if I could afford it, like, $200 Jordan, sometimes I can't, though. I improvise it. In the studio time, I'm more on, like, budgeting my money for studio time like that, make sure I have enough money for mix and mastering. Maybe I only get the $150 kicks, but I got the $300 video. And then I got a couple hundred to put back into the video because I can't just put out the video and hope it pop. I got to put money into marketing and stuff like that and make sure I get the right looks for it. I might put another $300 on top of the actual music video into promoting it. That's another thing. Like, people pay for features. It don't make sense unless you go shoot a video with that person. And then as far as that, you got to put the money back in to promoting it.
Yeah,
so that budget,
speaking of features,
is very important.
Speaking of features, now the song we played featured Ransom, one of the most underrated cats out there, man. How do you make that connection?
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to Ran. Definitely one of my favorites and definitely underrated.
Yeah. How did that? Yeah, like
he lost him. He gonna call back in a minute.
Oh. Yeah, man. That's real what he was talking though, man, King. You know, how many times do we say this? And we're hearing this from an artist himself, once again giving the game about how you gotta have everything, how you gotta have everything right. This is Off the Cuff Radio, Sunday night special. Call numbers 1516-531-9596. We got Young Sleep with us from Rochester, New York, upstate. Yeah, man. I mean, King, this is what we be telling artists. Yeah, man. But this is what we be telling artists, King, about how you always have to, you got to be a professional in order to be taken as such.
Yeah, and we tell people, too, that we ain't just making this stuff up. Well, we're not just going ahead and Googling it. You have real artists telling you the game flat.
Yeah.
With no strings attached.
Yeah. And I think that's something, King, that people got to understand too, man. Because, fashion trends change, the music styles may change. But if you really are dope with your product, that stands on its own in terms of, what you got. And if you got something special, that's something that's always going to be able to stand on its own merit. But you got to give people something to really get behind to support, and I think that's something real, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. You got to give them more than just the album. You got to give them basically a package. Hold on, we got them back on right now.
Okay. You with us, man? Can you hear us?
Did y'all get everything I was saying about Ransom?
No. You can just go in and refute that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying, a lot of it was business, but he liked what he heard too. Ran is the type of person that he gotta like what he hears first before he do anything. He not just doing anything for money. So I sent him the hook in my verse. He loved it. And he ended up doing it, and then he don't shoot music videos. A lot of people, if you pay attention, you go on YouTube. Ransom don't got a lot of music videos. So I said, Ran, I need you for a video. He said, let's do it. So I drove to Jersey the same. Yeah, I drove to Jersey early in the morning, shot that video, came back the same day, and we did our scenes, and I'm like, Ran, I appreciate you, and I think he was gonna leave, and he actually stayed for my Dolo scenes. So he a real dude, and like I said, he loves the upstate music right now. He loved 38 Special, Lil Ito, Benny the Butcher, Shay Noor. That's his favorite music. And I played him some of my stuff, and he's like, man, you don't lack in no bars. Like, your bars is there. And I definitely appreciate Ran, man. Good dude. And like you said, going back to that budget, that's how I grind. I go to a video shoot. Like, I drove Jersey. That took me 5 hours. I drove back the same day. So, that's 10 hours on my grind. Yeah.
And see, a lot of people got to understand too, man, because what you're saying, man, is real because, everybody sees the glamour and the glitz, you know, and the fame and the celebrity. But a lot of people really, really, really don't know what this takes in terms of, you know, we've had so many guests on our show, you know, who are unabashed and straight up honest. You know, a lot, you know, this is their full time and this is what they do. You know, a lot of people, you know, it's full time plus a full time job, you know, in terms of they work a regular 9 to 5. How important do you think it is, you know, for the hip hop community and for a lot of the young, young brothers and sisters coming up to really understand that this shit is work and any type of honest work is not bad, you know, because we all gotta, I mean, King and myself, you know, we work regular jobs, you know, but this is something we make full time in terms of what we love to do, you know, Sandman and Chilla, you know, this is our passion, this is our baby, you know, so it's like we also know the blue collar ethic that goes into it. How important is it for people to understand that this is not something that is going to happen overnight, and even taking it further, having the reality that even if your music is dope, it may not happen for you?
It's very important, very, very important. And I think most people will tell you that it's a very good chance you won't make it, even with the thing you got to have most of the time. It's almost about who you know, and obviously money plays a lot of part in it. I'm not going to say money is the main, it kind of is, but you don't necessarily got to have money, but it definitely helps a lot. But who you know, your networking game, it's a lot of things. Like talent ain't the biggest thing, but you got to have talent. You can't be like the most horrible rapper ever. You gotta have some type of star power, all types of stuff, and you gotta understand that it might not work out. Like everybody want to play basketball, everybody want to make the NBA. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen. Maybe you can make the semi-pro, go overseas or something. Maybe you might fall in love with coaching, or want to be a coach, be an assistant, be a trainer. So you got to understand that it's not a guaranteed thing, and it's a good chance you're never going to make your money back. I know people who spend millions of dollars who might never see that money ever again, and I'll tell you that. I know people who spent $1 million and they just now starting to make that money back slowly. They're $1 million in, and they just now making money back from that. They still in the hole in a way, but they're just happy that they actually made it in the game. So is that dedication? Right. French Montana, a lot of people don't know. Obviously, he was a DVD guy, Cocaine City and stuff, but French put up a big bag. Like, I think they say he gave Rick Ross almost $1 million just to co-sign him. So it's just understanding, like, what it's going to take is, like you say, working that full-time job. This is a full-time job. Like, you got to work on your music every day. You got to promote yourself every day. It's no slacking. It's millions of people in the world that's doing the same thing as you. So what makes you stand out?
And that's real.
Especially when everybody and their mama's a rapper now.
Yeah. Well, how do you feel about social media as it's come in now, where everybody begins to think that they can do it from a perspective of just, thinking that the antics are going to get them over as opposed to real talent?
I feel that's going to work for some people, but for the majority of people, it's not going to work. I hate to say it like that. It's just, unless you just have a great personality, and like I said, you got star power about you, it don't work out that way. You can do all the antics you want, but you got to have some type of talent. Like Cardi B, she was on TV. She had star power. She had a good voice and stuff like that. She stood out. You got to stand out, too. And I don't mean stand out by just doing something dumb and hoping you get crazy views. Like, it's got to be something about you as well. I think people are thirsty for fame. You can't chase the fame.
Right. And, one thing about it, one thing about Cardi, I can say this about Cardi, because she has really dealt with so much in her career, everybody. This is a chick who went from being a stripper. I think one thing I love about Cardi, is
Honesty.
that, and yeah, she's honest and she's fun ratchet. She's not trouble ratchet. She's fun ratchet. Cardi is ratchet in the context. She is going to make you laugh your ass off, being around her because that's just who she is. The girl has a very positive spirit about her. I don't give a fuck what nobody say. I love her energy. I love her spirit because she's such a genuine person, and she doesn't front anything about herself, especially being a woman in this game and coming where she came from. And the thing is, I tell everybody, there's a difference between just, trash rap that we shouldn't be hearing, Yeah, I'm going to put his name out there again. New age jerk boy married to the game, wearing a fucking wedding dress, sticking a gun in his mouth. That's trash. And some people try to say, well, especially with this, the WAP. Yeah. Thank you, King. Yes, exactly. But especially listen to the WAP with Cardi and Megan. Everybody says, oh, my God, this is too much sexuality and hip-hop. King, that thread you had was hilarious. By the way, I read it. It was hilarious. But I tell everybody, too, there is a place for fun hip-hop. There is a time. Hip-hop is predicated, yes, it's rooted in the street, but it expanded to us having fun. And the song itself, it's ratchet in its own way, but I don't get ratchet to the point of it is like, oh, my God, hip-hop is coming to. No, I really think it's a party starter. My opinion, I think it's a great party song. I think it's just a song to have fun to, especially in the times of what we're going through right now with the pandemic. People need something to shake their ass and smile about and be like, you know what, this is entertaining. Let's enjoy life a little bit. Do you think at times, Sleep, that maybe sometimes we have gotten as, even though we are traditionalists, you think some traditionalists have gotten a little bit too rigid in terms of saying what real hip-hop should be and kind of it's really come with a divide between the old and the new generation?
Yeah, I do. I think hip-hop evolves, so I think people get too stuck into what they used to. Similar, but still not the same. And then obviously the 2000s to now is a very big change. It's evolution. Nothing's going to stay the same. Your iPhone, the iPhone keeps updating every year. It's not going to stay the same. The Galaxy, who's the best NBA player? LeBron James is almost out the game. That's going to change. Everything evolves in life.
Right.
Obviously, some people are just stuck in their ways, but it's not a bad thing because you like what you like. Ain't nobody telling you gotta like something different. But you can't say what is real hip hop and what is not, because some might not be for you, but it's for somebody else.
That's true. And I think that is, like you said, man, an evolution, because I think for what it is, I think on one hand of it, because you mentioned Young Thug earlier. In terms of him being a fan of his. One thing about Thug, and I will tell, and I've said my things about Thugger on the show in the past, but when you do read some of his lyrics, he does say some clever ass shit. I'm not gonna say he doesn't. As a writer,
I'm a huge Young Thug fan. Let me just state that, but I do like some of his stuff.
Yeah, but he does write some clever stuff. I think the thing that is off-putting with Thugger, with a lot of people, and I've said this on the air, if he stopped with the weird shit, I really think he could really, really find a wider audience, but he just does a lot of questionable things. He says a lot of questionable things that do not make people comfortable.
I think another thing too, bro. I think another thing too is, I said this the other day on the post, like, I can't really take anybody that stopped listening to hip-hop in 1995 serious in a real discussion. Because it's like, man, you missed out on like 25 years of new music, new artists, new sounds.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah. Where do you feel stylistically? Because a lot of times we've seen the fashions, we've seen things that are said, and it's kind of become, the whole, it's just different now. What are your opinions in terms of the aesthetics of it, in terms of the look and the appeal and how things have kind of changed up? How do you feel about maybe where some of that is kind of a little different than what we were accustomed to coming on, in terms of the dress and, you know, in terms of just some of the stuff we see some of the new rappers doing.
Like I said, that goes back to evolution too. I think clothes and stuff are going to change, but a lot of things recycle around. Like, obviously, in some styles that's a little different that we might not like, or you might not like, and this what's in right now, or that's just what fits in hip hop right now. But I think there's no way around that. Like, some stuff is gonna get recycled, rather it's like a vintage look. You know, some stuff don't go out of style, like your Timberlands, your Air Force Ones, your White Ups and stuff like that, Jordans and stuff like that. But then you got designer Balenciaga and Dolce & Gabbana and stuff like that, and then the weird dress and the Kanye stuff. You got Yeezys and stuff. I think that's still evolution in this way as well. I think it's just something you got to adapt to. Some stuff is gonna be for you, and some stuff is not. But right. a new look, something fresh, is always a good thing. Rather you might not mess with it or the next person, but it's just going to keep evolving, and better things are going to come regardless.
Mhm. Yeah, and in terms of that, you know, I think it's something that we've seen so many things as we have, especially what we've seen now, especially with hip hop culture becoming one of the biggest exports and the number one musical export from America, because it started here, but it's become the number one genre in the world in terms of being so influential. You mentioned Kanye and some of his antics that have been going on as of late. How important is it as the hip-hop community that at times we need to understand that when certain people do get out of line saying crazy things, that we need to say that just because you are who you are doesn't mean we agree with everything you say, and this is not, you know...
It could be also pressure, bro.
Yeah.
It could be pressure because they see what they do. They see the reaction and the revenue that possibly somebody running their mouth get. Like, if somebody go on IG Live and they see the attention and the clicks and all the blogs picking up on that, the next artist be like, hey, I could do the same thing. Then the next artist say, I could do the same thing he doing, and that trend just keeps going.
Right.
I think with Kanye, is that example is a good. You know, he suffers from bipolarness and stuff like that. So I think stuff. You know, he has you know, a condition and stuff, like his bipolarness. I think messes with him a lot. And obviously, you say pressure and stuff like that to be. You know, I think Kanye a billionaire now. I think sometimes he's just not in his right mind. He goes through things. He's a genius, and obviously everything he says is not right and it's not going to be right. But is Kanye big in the culture? Yeah, he is.
Oh,
rather
yeah.
He has bad decisions or not. He represents our culture.
Funny question here, man. Funny question here. Are we going to vote for him in 2020?
Man, who else you going to vote for? I want Hillary. I ain't going to lie to you, but she ain't in it.
Yeah. Look,
I was thinking too, because I'm thinking, hold up. At least if he wins, the least he can do is remix the national anthem, give us that nice soulful cut.
Facts. But you know, the bad thing about that is, much as anybody better than Trump, I think because Kanye in it, Trump got a better chance to win.
Well, you know, and you know, we make jokes about it, but reality is, I don't, you know, in terms of the policies, you know, the statutes that involve it, you know, I don't even really think that it's really feasible. You figure we're 3-4 months away from the election. It's not even feasible for him to really get on the ballot, you know, because he hasn't done the paperwork. You know, so it's I mean, write-ins, you know, technically, yes, you know, you can write in for a candidate, but I think anybody, and I'm going to just say it, I think anybody who really understands, especially with the current political climate that we are in right now, the world climate that we're in, I don't think anybody really feels that he's going to be that guy for us. I'm gonna just say that, but that's something where, but King made a great point too. In terms of this business, how much pressure can really get to an artist? Like the first show that you did, and of course you can tell us about. You don't have to mention the ones. We're not going to put you on the spot. This is not what we do on this show about the ones who may have not been the coolest. But tell us about some of the artists that you've opened up for, and just, of course, anonymity-wise, some of the artists you could see that maybe, how much this can really wear on them in terms of just having to constantly work and everything, and how, because this is, what happened with Kanye has opened up a discussion about the mental health about black people, and I don't think it's been talked about enough in terms of our, brothers and sisters in the hip-hop game, because this is we look at Jaguar Wright with his recent situations with the Roots, and Jaguar is really this woman is fed up on some things, and it's wow, what's really going on? Did the pressure get? How important is it for? Anyway, go ahead, please.
Talk about the people I open up with, and my experiences with them.
What they go through. Yeah, and just what they go through on a regular. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm open up for a lot of people. The Locks, period. Jadakiss, Joe Budden, Freeway, Beanie Siegel, Chris Rivers. I don't even think about everybody. Corey Guns.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people. I don't know if I said Meek Mill already. Meek Mill. And what's the kid name? K Camp. So I open up for a lot of them people. But Jadakiss is a good example because he comes to Rochester once, twice a year. He loves Rochester. Don't get me wrong, but obviously, knowing that people will be in his face constantly, he's a good sport about it. I definitely give him that. But I see the pressure it is, somebody wanting to be next to you, constantly, over and over. Even Meek Mill, he did a good show. He's probably a little too, obviously Meek Mill a little bit higher than Kiss is nowadays, but he came in and pretty much left. I think he understood, obviously he came for his money and maybe to put on a good show, but he can't hang out because there's too many people that want to get next to him and probably do some wild stuff to meet him and stuff like that. So like you said, that pressure is big because once you're that big of a star, there's no turning that off almost.
Yeah, man. And that's crazy because, like you said, Sleep, it's a situation where we talk about this all the time, man. People got to understand before the fame and the celebrity, before the money and the cash hoes, you're a human being first. And and when you really get deeper with it, dog, it's this isn't just you in terms of what you're doing. You got motherfuckers that are responsible for a lot of people. You're you're the cash cow. You're the
Absolutely,
one that So it's you really gotta be watching for everybody in terms of making sure that this whole thing moves along.
That payroll, that staff.
Yeah. Now we wanted to ask you this too. What was usually your experience? What was your experience in terms of being an opening act? Because we've heard so many situations of janky ass stories about how people got hoodwinked, hornswoggled, bamboozled, flim flam, all type of treachery getting on in terms of opening up for people. How was your means of getting on to open up?
I've had mostly good experience, but I've had some experience where I'm opening that, and there might be 20 people in the crowd, and that's all I got to work with. And obviously, I want to turn them 20 people to fans, but if I had to perform maybe 20 minutes to an hour later, it'd probably been like 400 or 500 people in the building.
Right.
And that could be different reasons. That, like you said, that could be a business reason where they did that on purpose, where it makes sense to just get me out the way and make sure the other people go on after me who might have sold more tickets or they paid the promoter to perform and stuff like that. So I had all them type of experience where I'm performing in front of the big crowd where most of the audience was already there and nobody was there. And it was rather, sometimes it was good business. Sometimes it was just bad business where the promoters kind of jerked me and other people might have paid to get later spots or something like that. And sometimes it might have just been, a lot of people don't like to go to early shows. They come to shows late.
Right. Yeah, because that's always been a very, very, very tricky element of it in terms of the opening act. Because when we get to the heart of it, it's, and you're obviously a paid performer. You're a professional at what you do, so you've seen all the business in terms of how it goes. I've seen horror stories to rival Jason and Freddie, in terms of how people get splashed up in terms of they got to pay to get on.
I've been there. I've been there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, ideally, we've seen situations where if you're really, we're just speaking in general, if it's really where you are that dope, ideally they should be paying you to come on.
Absolutely.
Because, but we all know business-wise that, this game is very, 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 it's cutthroat. Let's just call it what it is. We've seen situations where people have not always taken care of, their situation financially, making sure, that everything is taken care of. We've seen artists that came out, and then we never heard from them again. How important is it for artists to really read their contracts in terms of understanding and making sure that they're owning their publishing, getting all that straight? And because what you said earlier, and I want to get back to you about that, Sleep, was how a lot of times these artists get all this money. Shout out to Mac Miller when he did an interview with Feds years ago, and they were interviewing him, and he talked about how, not Mac Miller, Machine Gun Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
And, Machine Gun Kelly talked about what his deal was. It was like $1.2 million. But he was like, I physically don't see that money. That money goes to all of my project. What do artists really have to understand in terms of how the money is proportioned out to you and ensuring that, that you have an understanding of where all this is going the entire time?
It's very important. You want to know where that money's going to, because you don't want to live, obviously, above your means as well, because, like you said, a person to say they got $1 million, but did they really get that $1 million? No, not physically. The deal might have been worth $1 million, but they might have spent 900 or $1 million of it out of the $1.2 million in promoting and for the budget for recording the project. So maybe you got $200,000, but you not knowing that, you might have spent that on a new house that cost $100 or $150. You might have bought a brand new car, bought a brand new watch. Now you ain't got no money. Now you depending on shows and stuff like that, knowing you only get a percentage out of your show money and stuff like that. The label get that money first and stuff like that. If you deal with a label, but any type of business relationship, you got to understand what the business is, period. Because you don't want to be somebody that ends up broke. Because you think you're going to be a big star forever and you got all this money coming in, not knowing that your expenses is more than the money that you got coming in, possibly.
Yeah, and I think the star quality, like I said, people think it's going to be around forever. The business is not like what it was. We look at Fresh Prince with Will Smith. We look at LL. We look at so many artists. Queen Latifah. Janet Jackson, who Ice Cube. Who all halfway in their careers or later in their careers got heavy into acting and had other ventures. Do you have any other pursuits, any other business interests outside of music that you're really looking to expand on?
I'm still growing and trying to find that, but I am like building my brand, period. Like I do merch. I do very well in merch. I sell a lot of shirts. I sell a lot of snapbacks, winter hats and stuff like that. So that's my thing, just building my brand, my Sleep City brand. Like I sold over like 300 shirts, over 200 snapbacks, stuff like that.
Wow.
Just reinventing my logos, everything like that. Because like I said, my brand is built off my brother. So obviously I want to make that last for as long as I'm still living. So just always trying to reinvent my brand, period. Besides reinventing myself as an artist, reinvent the whole brand. And, just try to take it to everything, whether it's basketball jerseys, just keep re-evolving.
Man.
And not to mention your merch got to stand out too, because you know how many artists that we've seen have crappy merchandise.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, but when when you really on the mic, man, what's it like to really get the crowd going and just really really having that? I mean, what's that rush like when you really got them moving and you just you really got them warmed up and when you really got them going? What's that feeling like performing?
Man, it's almost no better feeling. It's like I'm a big sports guy, I'm a big basketball guy, so it's like almost hitting that game-winning shot.
Yeah, man. So you're a sports fan, man. So tell us about some of your sports interests growing up. Because I mean, you're from upstate, so of course you know about Syracuse. Of course, Donovan McNabb went there, played football, played on the basketball team. Of course, Nate Helmsley. I mean, of course, Buffalo. That's where Khalil Mack went. I mean, yeah, man. I mean, what was the sports scene like up there in terms of really like watching a lot of those guys? I mean, look, Syracuse especially. For anyone that knows that Big East history, rest in peace to Conrad McRae, a.k.a. McNasty. Of course, Jerry McNamara, and some guy, who's one of the all-time great scorers in NBA history. I think you know his name, Carmelo Anthony.
Of course.
Yeah, man. What was it like watching a lot of those guys out there during that time?
It was a great experience, man. But besides Syracuse and like Buffalo Bills, like with me being from Rochester, we don't got no major sports team, so we end up adapting to a team that we just like or we just kind of pick. So like football, I'm a Packer fan. Basketball, I'm a Spurs fan. Baseball, I'm a Yankee fan. So that's the only really true addition. And then Syracuse, kind of really like my second team. I actually like Michigan. But I know all the stars from Syracuse, though. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So you're a cheesehead. Shout out to Aaron Rodgers, of course, Bart Starr, all those guys, man. The late great Reggie White. Yeah, man. I mean, and I think people got to understand in terms of hip hop, and the correlation between hip hop, the music, and the sports things, that you're trying to develop a winning franchise. You're going to have those years where, you're in you're going to have your free agency where you're trying to figure out where your next move is going to be in terms of who can give you that bag. Or, you pretty much move as according to the market where you're not staying in one place too long. Sometimes you're going to be on your win streak like the Patriots, and then sometimes you're going to be on your down years like the Browns. But you always keep putting and building and putting, making the right business decisions to keep going along the way and such. Pretty much you talked about coming up there where there was a lot of crime. Of course, when we think of Buffalo, for myself, one figure immediately comes to mind, one of the realest out there on the block, Donald Sly Williams. His reputation is known far and wide. Pretty much, what was the street game like in those years, you coming up and just seeing what you saw and how you just managed to stay out of a lot of that and didn't let it take you under?
My fault. My phone just cut off. What was the question? Last question?
It's okay. Yeah, I was just saying about how, what was the street life out there, because we know about it, especially going upstate and especially going into Buffalo, we know about the legend Donald Sly Williams and his reputation, How did you manage to avoid, because you said, Rochester got a lot going on out there where they got it popping. How did you manage to keep yourself out of a lot of the drama out there, with the street life?
Music, man. If it wasn't for music, I don't know. Like, I probably would have been mixed in a lot of that stuff, and stuff could have a lot of different ways for me, rather death, jail stuff like. But I always put music first, even in sports. Like, I grew up in a good household. Like, my mom and my pops worked 80, 90 hours a week, and we was in the hood, we was in the ghetto, but my parents made sure we had everything. Now we go around the corner, it's bad, but I look at it like, I got a good household. I ain't really want for nothing, so I ain't really had to do too much. Obviously, we all get curious at one point, so I did do a few things here and there, and I realized a lot of that stuff wasn't for me.
Definitely. And, that's real that you speak on that in such a authentic tone, because how important is it for the youth to understand that, because we've seen, we've seen so many artists, jump into things in the street that they really weren't part of. We've all heard the stories about certain rappers, buying gang affiliations, trying to talk and live a life that they really they weren't around. And then we see kids trying to emulate that. What do a lot of these young people need to understand in terms of the street life, in terms of how dangerous it really is, especially when you're trying to throw yourself into it and you didn't grow up in that situation?
I think you got to be authentic, man, because, I hate to say it like that. It do sound like the cool thing to do somewhat, especially as a young dude, you curious, or a young person, period, but understanding the outcome, too. Like you go back to that authenticity type stuff, like, can people back that? Like, you in the rap game, you talking about all this shooting and you was a street dude and stuff like that, but then people back home, like, man, you wasn't about none of that. You front, like, you ain't do none of that. You ain't never shot no gun or nothing. You was a good kid. You wasn't no street kid. None of that. You didn't participate in that. So you got to be authentic with yourself. Like, that life, most people that's in that life didn't have a choice. Like, they trying to get out of that. They ain't have a mom and dad at home or something like that. They had to get on their own. Their mom and pops might have been dope. They might have been doing dope. So, like, I don't knock nobody hustle. Like, you got to get it how you get it, man. And, like,
right.
A lot of people born in the struggle. So they might not have the opportunity you got. Maybe when they get their money right, doing whatever they doing, they could get out of that. Like Jeezy, I'm pretty sure a lot of people know, like, Jeezy was a real street dude. He made his way, and he made it out of music. Like, really, even Hov, Jay-Z, good example. He did, he really was about that street stuff, but Hov was smart. He got out the game. He didn't get too greedy.
Yeah. And especially, shout out to Jeezy, CTE, all those guys, those are my people. And I think and that's one thing I think people really have to understand in terms of when you get into that hustle, because, we've seen so many people, like you said, they get greedy. And we don't knock the streets. We come from it, or we've seen things. And I think the allure of it, which I think, because when we look at American society, American culture, we've always romanticized, those that lived outside the law, from the Western outlaws to the mafia, to all of that. And I think one thing people have to understand is there are real consequences for it. I think people fall in love with the seduction of, you're that rebel, you're not, going, with that, so to speak, conventional means of living, by the law. And there's a certain amount of ballsy, machismo combined with a lot of intelligence and a lot of luck to survive it. And I think a lot of the youth today really, get seduced by that, thinking that they can do the same thing. But I'm like, shout out to Jeezy, Hov, of course, Nipsey, rest in peace, Trick Daddy. The Locks. I mean, these were dudes. Yeah. I mean, they were really out there. And But I mean, you people see the jewelry and the cars, you know, and everything, but they don't understand all the things you went through. I mean, all the homies you lost. The times, you know, you might have messed around. You were just one, you know, 1 hour away from getting.
Said it best too.
Yeah.
Easy said it best too. He said that when you see cats that win that championship, they ain't crying because they won. They crying because of the sacrifices and the losses and the heartbreak. So all that just bottled into one, and all them emotions come out because they recognize the sacrifice it took to get to that point. So that's where the tears of joy come out.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something that I think people really have to understand, you know, in terms of, like, you know, King said, what you put into that, because it's a lot, man. You know, and like you said, nobody wants to be there in the street in terms of, this was in December 99, when Jay was on the cover of the Source magazine, and he was talking, you know, of course they were, you know, this was an article, and they were riding in the Rover. They were going to Jersey. And Ho was talking to Beans about it, you know, and he, you know, a great article. Shameless plug to eBay. If y'all can, anybody that wants to pick up that issue, it's on eBay. But Jay was talking to Beans about, you know, making that transition from the street life, you know, to the profession, and he said basically, you know, he said everything you do now affects somebody, man. And Beans was like, you know, I'm a thug, but I'm a thug. I don't know how to be nothing else. He's like, and Jay said, I get it. He's like, and trust me, every mistake you will make in the game or have made, I've already made, and I understand what goes on. And he was like, you know, in terms of where you're at right now, you have an opportunity. He's like, I know 3 motherfuckers right now, cold-blooded killers that would kill 3 people right now just to learn how to rap like you. And that's when they said Beans got silent. He's like, and Jay said, nobody wants to be out on the street.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
And nobody wants.
They got a choice. They're not going to choose that.
Nobody wants to treat gang banging like a 9 to 5. You know what I'm saying?
No, man. You know, we got too many. You know, too many B's and C's, GDs and VLs, Bloods and Crips, Light Force, for those that don't know. I mean, you know, the Norteños, the Serenos, you know. We got so many out there, you know, from all colors, you know, that have really lived that life, and that is something that is really real. And I think for what hip-hop does, and so many people try to dismiss it as just this misogynistic, obscene, you know, menace that has no place in society. But I think we all agree that for the music, it really speaks to us. It really gives us a voice. It inspires us in terms of what we are able to really, in terms of what we're going through. It gives us an opportunity to interview people like yourself who have made it their passion, and from that, their action to realize it. How has hip-hop culture really inspired you across the board from not only music, but just your life in terms of just you as a person?
You said how did the culture, like, affect my life?
Yeah, just as a person, your development and just you just living a regular life, just you as a man.
It teach me a lot. It teach me hard work. I already had hard work. Like my father taught me hard work, but understanding that everything is not gonna come easy. Like chasing this music dream and grind it teaches you a lot. It teaches like to be mentally strong. You got to be mentally strong with this music thing too. That's another thing. Like you gotta have your highs, you gotta have your lows. Can you overcome them lows? It's gonna be times people might get you for your, like you said, this is a dirty business. I think this is probably the dirtiest business where people go try to get you for money, all multiple ways. There's a chance you're going to get scammed. If somebody's going to get you for your money, can you overcome that? Can you overcome a big look that you had that doesn't turn out in your favor? Like you might get a chance to get signed by Hov, and if you and one other person in the room, and Hov picked the other person, Is that going to discourage you from not wanting to do music ever again, or are you going to be motivated from that? A DJ tossing a mixtape saying they don't want to listen to or it's trash. Are you going to overcome that? So for me in just daily life, just being strong, period. Like anything I do, wanting to be the best at anything I do. Just making stuff happen. I'm a person, I like to make things happen. If I got a vision or I really want to do something, I'm going to find out a way to do that. I wanted to learn how to put my logo on snapback. I found out how to do that. A lot of people wasn't doing it at the time. Now it's starting to be more of a trend. But I'm the type of person I'm going to find a way to do something if I got a passion for it. I live up to my passion.
Yeah,
and that type of motivation.
It's a very cutthroat game, man. Like, it's a very cutthroat game, not in just in terms of business, but also in terms of affecting your confidence. Because
absolutely.
What really will hurt a lot of people is yes, especially when you're in a public eye, you're a public figure, and the Instagram comments be chipping these niggas' egos.
Oh yeah.
You gotta have tough skin. You definitely gotta have tough skin.
Like I tell a lot of rappers, don't read your comments. Like if you're doing the verses right now, don't read your comments right now. Read it after it's over.
I know dudes who can't take local comments or local criticism. How you gonna take a stranger criticism? That's the real criticism. A person who don't know you from a can of paint, what they gonna say about you? Or better yet, if somebody like Puff or Snoop come to your area and you give them your tape, they hear your tape and they throw it in the trash, how you gonna take that? Absolutely. I gave my tape, a mixtape to DJ Enough when I was 20 years old. He didn't even listen to it. He told me he pretty much wasn't going to take it. I had to beg him to take it. He gave it to a security. His security didn't throw it, but they just threw it down, and I seen it with my eyes. You don't think that messed with me a little bit? But I had to understand. All right, bet I'm gonna come back even stronger.
Y'all remember that scene on Hustle and Flow where Ludacris or a.k.a. Skinny Black took Terrence Howard's tape, said he was gonna listen to it, and ended up throwing it in the toilet.
He peed on it. Yeah, he pissed on it.
Skinny, what happened to your tape, man? Skinny, what happened to that tape, man?
Skinny, what happened to that tape, man?
Why you listen to my tape, man?
Yeah,
it be like
it's
that,
crazy. Though. Yeah. You know, I remember when I read Rick Ross's book, Hurricanes. For those that haven't read it, check it out. It's a great read. And he talked about, when, he initially had bought, DJ Khaled some of his music, and Khaled said it was whack, when it's like, and this is like when he was just really, this is before I believe Hustlin' that came out. Because Hustlin' didn't drop like until, I believe. Yeah, I think this is like maybe, Hustlin' I don't think dropped until like maybe late 2000. Yeah.
So Spy put that
Khaled
out.
wasn't rocking with it. Yeah, and Khaled wasn't rocking with it, and Ross at the time, and he also said it's in another magazine interview with with Source. He was like at the time, he was like he told Khaled at the time like fuck you nigga, but he was like, but I understood what he was trying to say. It's like he was basically saying I wasn't there yet. But when he found that hit with Hustlin', he talks about this in the book as well. He was like, Khaled played that shit back to back for like 20 minutes, and Ross said he cried. Because he knew that at that moment, he's like, my life changed forever. He was like, after I got that, plug, he was like, that's when it all took off for him.
That's true.
So,
a lot of people don't know Ross was on the grind for a minute, too. Even when he first was signed to Slip and Slide, people don't know he was signed to Slip and Slide with Trina's Trick Daddy was still on the label, too.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing about it, too, is one thing I love about what we're seeing in hip-hop right now is especially a lot of artists willing to tell their stories and writing it. Shout out to Gucci, shout out to Ross, shout out to Nas, shout out to Rakim, a shout out to 50, who have talked about it at length about their experiences or wrote about it. Because people really have to understand, the story that goes into how these people really, 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 make their come up. And the one thing about it is that, like you said, there is no guarantee that you're going to make it, but you got to keep pushing. You just got to keep striving, But you're always one hit song away from getting it out there. But the trick is also once you get that hit song, you've also got to keep coming with the hits to keep your name out there. And that's something that you can't sit on. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You look at guys like Jadakiss, 25 years strong, from the mixtapes with a lot to now, and all of them has managed, to stay, relevant in the game. We want to ask you this. We got a little bit of time left. How do you feel about a lot of people who still try to say that a lot of the older generation doesn't matter in the music in terms of, we got a lot of older rap, some of our legends are in their 50s and even pushing 60s now. And then, some rappers who even in their late 40s and early 50s still doing it. And some people still, you got some of the younger rappers trying to say, well, they need to move out of the way and let the young people do their thing. How important is it that we respect the legends and give them their flowers while they're here and acknowledge their contributions and not push them out?
I think it's very important. You got to appreciate your legends because they came before us. They're almost a way. They're a big reason why we're here. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it wasn't for LL Cool J, who knows what hip hop would be? Who knows what it would be without Run DMC, Curtis Blow, Sugar Hill Gang? Who knows if hip hop would have stayed? Everybody thought hip hop was going to be a trend, was going to be around for a long time, and look. Hip hop has been around for over 30 years, 40 years almost. You got to appreciate your OGs, man. You got to understand they didn't make the money that people are making nowadays. The Big Daddy Kanes and KRS-Ones. They don't have, Big Daddy Kane and KRS-One, they probably do, but like your MC Shanes and Biz Marquis, maybe Biz Marquis, Coogee Raps and stuff. They're not rich for the rest of their life. They still got to do some type of work. You got to appreciate that. Even like with sports, people in the 70s, 80s, they're not making what LeBron James and them make now, 200, 300 million. So you got to appreciate your OGs, and understand that they're the reason why you're here, and they laid down the initial footwork for this to happen.
Right.
Fact.
Right. Definitely. And one thing about it, man, how much in terms of the culture, in terms of being a dad, because you're that before anything, how has it been in terms of really, in terms of being a father? Of course, I'm thinking of Exhibits the Foundation in my head as I'm asking this question. What's the most gratifying thing in terms of being a professional, doing what you love, and also, being a father as well?
What's the question about that exactly? I'm sorry.
Yeah, how do you mix the gratifying sensation of your profession with also the even greater gratification of being a father in terms of really bringing the two together?
Yeah, like far as bringing it together, it's probably a little bit more separate, but obviously, like you say, fatherhood to me, that's the most important thing. That come over anything as far as music. I love music, and it's probably almost nothing besides my son being a father and stuff like that I love more. But making sure I'm here for him first and stuff like that, and his brother and sister and everybody I take care of, that balance, man, it's hard to be away from my kids for multiple days and stuff, but I know I'm doing it for a purpose. I'm doing it to show them that you can chase your dreams. Obviously people say chase your dreams and tell your kids to chase your dreams when they're younger and stuff, not knowing later in life, a lot of parents tell you, like, something different, but I'm like living proof to show you, like, yeah, daddy almost in his 30s, late 20s, and I'm still chasing my dreams. Like, it's never too late to chase your dreams and stuff like that, showing that, showing them I'm the true example of that and everything, and learning that balance. I hate to be away from my son more than a day or two, and sometimes I'm on the road. It's in times like I tell you, I make them drives. Yes, for budget reasons, but a lot of times it's to be with my kids. I might come back the same day just so I'm back with my kids. I can't go multiple days without seeing my kids, and that's my struggle in a way. But I learned that balance.
Mm-hmm.
But I do try to incorporate them as well on trips. I might bring them, and they might have to stay in the hotel with their mom and stuff, and I might have to be at the show. So that's a balance as well.
Yeah, man. But it's always a beautiful thing, man, when you can when those are experiences you can share, because it's something that it's one thing about it that I think we that our children need to really see is that because once you teach them from a young age that everything is about really what it takes to get there, the discipline, the dedication, and the desire. They learn that, and you're still in that, it's always better to see, for them to see you working from an honest perspective rather than them being traumatized by the violent life. And we've seen, so many kids who, unfortunately, because just being real with how the world is, we've seen, especially in the hood, we've seen situations where kids, they see things they shouldn't see growing up, and that affects them the rest of their life. But for the fact that for you, because so many of our young brothers out there get maligned, lambasted and unfairly, designated being deadbeat or absent, it is so refreshing. It is so, it's just so reassuring, and it's just something that is indescribable to know that, number one, those stereotypes are exaggerated, and number two, you are the consummate example of what a father is to his children, to be there through everything, no matter what. And I think that is something that I don't think is taught about enough in hip-hop, about, and I understand for a lot of reasons, understandably that, a lot of artists want to keep their private lives private, and that's totally understandable. I'm like, it's also people got to see, because people still have this impression of black men that we're not there, for our kids. And the reality is,
for real,
a lot of us are. Yeah, we are. I don't have children myself, but I taught, and I was there for all of my students. So it's something that, we really need to let people know in terms of what it is out there, that we're more than what some people in society will try to make us. And, we have, we're dedicated to that. So in the future moves for you, Sleep, what's next for you? Is a major deal possible in the works, or are you good where you're at, being able to move on your own independent scale, pushing that weight in terms of how you want to do it?
At this point, major's not in my plans. Mine is just to keep growing as an artist and keep putting out projects and continue to build that buzz, continue to build that fan base, and obviously get more exposure and build my name up as much as possible. And like I said, just give people great music, and hopefully be a person that's talked about more in like the who's the best lyrically and stuff, conversation like that, or who's the hottest upcoming artist and stuff like that. That's what I want to do. I want to keep expanding my pen game. That's very important to me, and even expanding my songwriting ability, just expanding myself as an artist overall, and having people recognize that more and build my skill, because obviously you gotta practice and build your skill if you want to be the best.
Yes, indeed. Now we got probably about 5 more minutes to spare, man. So you have any shout-outs you want to give out? And tell them where they can find your music.
You can find all my music on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, search YS. My latest full project is Sleep City 2. Go check that out. It's featuring lyrical legend me, Ransom, Down South legend Project Pat, upcoming lyricist Kaya Baby, super lyricist battle rap legend DNA. Yeah, definitely check that out, man. My newest single, Different, produced by Sly Beats, Crazy. More music to come, man. Just more bars, more freestyles, more original stuff. Like I said, follow all that on all the streaming platforms, even YouTube. Search YS Young Sleep. Follow me on Instagram, YoungSleep585. Salute to you all for having me on the station. Shout out to everybody that's a supporter. Need some merch, holla at me. Whatever, man. I'm around.
Man, look,
no doubt, man. Salute to you.
Definitely, man. Look,
everybody else got a real good schooling on the business side, staying confident in your craft, and keeping it going in the midst of adversity.
Definitely, man. And look, anytime, you want to come back, you got some music to plug, you're more than welcome. We thank you so much. You honor us, with your presence, and we are so grateful. We're so humble to have you on, man. Thank you again. Thank you.
And thank y'all, man. I really appreciate it. And we definitely gonna be back. I'm definitely gonna be back on the station real soon.
For real. Big shout out to you, April, for making this connection happen. We got that Rochester connect now.
Yeah. Definitely, man. So
on that note, I'm about to sign up out of here. Check us out tomorrow night, Monday night, special Monday night episode. We got Sonny Chase from Camp Low in the building. So let's get it going.
All right. And we out.
All right. Peace. Salute.
One.